second twin, in some countries it's also named the second truth, is very interesting to analyze. It has been largely repressed on Wikipedia or online platforms. It didn't really gain enough attention. Most movies tend to have a Wikipedia these days, although the release date 1966 is rather interesting. The black and white hands should be acknowledged on the poster of the movie, which don't seem to belong to the main characters. You could also call it the hidden hand, often mentioned in Freemasonry. It's an interesting and very well-made movie with a nice budget, you can see. And if you watch it from my personal perspective, it's kind of eye-opening. The main plot describes an affair between a young medical student who works at a night dance club to make money for her studies, and she gets involved with a much older gentleman who, however, doesn't keep his promise to leave his wife for the young woman. They both fall in love with each other, although the girl has another affair with a much better suitor who also loves her dearly. This is a much younger, wealthier man who gets very jealous. Some countries named the movie L'amant infidèle, which means the unfaithful mistress. I found this a bit infuriating as a woman because the young girl actually was not the one who was unfaithful. She actually finished her relationship with the other man, while the gentleman, the older guy, didn't, as it's often in reality, but the woman always gets the blame and is, the gold digger. It's also a bit odd that they couldn't quite decide what name to give this movie, although I personally think The Second Truth makes the most sense if you truly understand the real plot, which I believe some people wanted to suppress and they didn't like this movie for that reason. Michele Mercier is absolutely stunning and truly gorgeous to watch, with her changing outfits and very charming youthful personality, always elegantly dressed. She's also the perfect poster child for young women who often fall for older men and are actually the ones who get taken advantage of because they are serious about love and romantic feelings, and these men from the beginning often promise to leave their wives and never do. So she ends up being very frustrated and heartbroken. She experiences an emotional roller coaster of depression and unstable emotions, as you would call it today, because nobody's allowed to have any feelings anymore, especially not young girls who get betrayed by older married gentlemen with false promises, but they are the gold diggers. The unfortunate event happens when the girl accidentally kills her ex-boyfriend during an argument where he physically assaults her out of jealousy when he notices that she truly loves this older man. So in a very agitated state, disassociated and unable to think clearly, the girl drives by a train and finally commits suicide. It almost seems that the noise of the train has triggered some kind of reaction. Personally, it seems to me that parts of this movie have been deleted. What happens then is that the older gentleman is being accused of having murdered the boyfriend of the younger lady. Furthermore, he's being investigated and also suddenly experiences bouts of dissociative episodes where he starts to doubt his own mind and actions. So an intelligent viewer will notice that something else is going on behind the shadows here. While rewatching the movie, one will notice different symbols and signs that connect to Freemasonry and programming You can also call it MKU. The female character is not just once, but probably 4 or 3 times dressed in black and white checkered clothing, similar to checkered floors, which usually means that the person has been programmed. You could also say hypnotized. This kind of hypnosis can be executed through remote influencing and rituals. Most often, it's a combination of multiple methods. So she's being used as a honeypot for the older gentleman, organized within a very well calculated campaign by his employee to take over his business. Because these groups often use the occult, it is even possible that they put love spells, if you would call it so, on both of these characters to connect them. I do understand this sounds extremely far-fetched for most of you out there, and it definitely doesn't make sense to anyone who doesn't believe in the occult or doesn't understand it. But if you do understand hypnosis, it is literally the same. You can hypnotize someone to fall in love with another person, and it can cause a lot of suffering and pain to people involved if they didn't decide to be into another person and they probably had somebody more suitable for them. So these groups don't care if they cause a lot of suffering and destruction to other people. They only care about achieving their main goal, and they will use other people for their purpose. So the one who truly pulls the strings is the employee and so-called friend of the male man character. He's also the one who had the idea to visit the club where they met the girl, and he was friends with her. I was trying to find more pictures where you can see them all together, but there's really not so much out there about this movie. I would have to go back and rewatch it, and I actually don't know where I found it before. I believe there's a French version on BitChute, but if you take your time and search for the English one, I believe it's quite worth it. It is a beautiful movie. So the so-called friend takes over his business in the end, where he actually hints that it was all a calculated plot, but the viewer doesn't quite understand what has been going on. Although it has been found out that the male main character was not the murderer, he is so heartbroken that he gives up his business and decides to go to jail. So through personal and financial destruction, these groups often achieve their main goal because they also psychologically tear down the ones they attack. You can also see the feline symbolism in the second poster, which is often connected to the honeypot. Mind-controlled girls used for Masonic purposes. Here you can see the butterfly in the background inside a glass picture. It never really becomes clear what the background of this girl is, but she's not just some loose lady who is looking for older wealthy men. She finances medical school by working and teaching people at the dance club. She's not a dancer or anything, because there is a huge misconception that only girls of the no future lifestyle are being used for these projects. It is quite the opposite. The more educated, the better. The more innocent, the better. And the more honest, loving, and kind, that is a big plus and helps tremendously to influence the target. So it seems that the girl has had a suicide program implemented into her mind, also acted as an assassin, which probably got triggered through the verbal abuse. Then the suicide program got activated through the noise of the train in some way while she was in a dissociative state. The weaponization of women is a huge deal today, and men should become aware that this is indeed happening and going on. And it is not just to blackmail someone, but to take over businesses and finances of competitors. But you could also have an enemy working for you because they also infiltrate companies. So just be aware of that. I do know what I'm talking about. And it's not really a funny topic. Anyway, have a lovely week, lovely day, wherever you are. And don't forget to subscribe and like. It helps my video. If you want to make a donation, it is highly appreciated. We live in challenging times and I love making videos, but I'm not getting paid. So your contribution helps me to have more time to make these videos. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day and I hope to see you soon. Bye.